What if I told you that the very rock the Pilgrims stepped on in 1620 is still here today? And if you could walk aboard their ship's replica, would you? Welcome everybody. Here we are in Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts, looking at some of the historic things that happened around this area. Where our nation kind of started with the people and their journey, and just want you guys to come along with me today as I explore deep history of Plymouth Rock. There it is. So the tour guide was telling us that only a third of the rock is actually left, and the other 2/3 people had actually, they invited them to come take it over the years. And then it cracked when they had it on tour at one point. So they brought it back here, relocated it, and if you look, you'll see green lines. That's where the tide comes in depending on the time of year. But just a little history about this is the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth Rock in December of 1620, even though the rocks was only first mentioned records in about 1715. So it took them 90 years to actually start mentioning the rock. In 1741, a 94-year-old Thomas Foss identified this boulder as their stepping stone. The rock split during a move in 1774 and was rejoined in 1880. Though first claimed in 1741, this rock has come to symbolize the Pilgrims' arrival. So this ship was built in 1955 through 57 in Brixham, England, and was with traditional methods. They used oak timbers, linen sails, and hemp rigging. It sailed from Plymouth, UK on April 20th, 1957 and crossed 3,500 nautical miles in 54 days, arriving on June 13th, 1957. And it was greeted by 25,000 spectators. It has been placed on the National Registry of Historic Places on October 22nd, 2020, after a major restoration. This is known as the Mayflower II. Welcome to Plymouth County, America's hometown. that area you were just in is the navigator's quarters.
No, I already personal about it. Yeah. All the news, anything else. If you're a Roman Catholic or a Quaker, a Mormon, don't know. You don't want to. So all we learned in school about freedom of religion is freedom of their religion, not yours. Don't welcome here if you don't dare. Fair point. Don't come here. Well, I mean, that was not uncommon in those times. Right. I mean, most of the colonies at the time of the Revolution and the Constitution all had state religions. In the 19th century, though, a Victorian era, they changed this colony about land and profit and a little bit about religion to a lot of religion and a little bit of land and profit. That's not really the case.
Can you imagine sleeping in here? Maybe fleas, bed bugs.
By the 19th century, it becomes all about religion because Plymouth becomes a separatist colony. It wasn't supposed to be. The investors don't care about it. All they care about is making money. Don't tell me that they're practicing that religion in England. Just tell me we're making a profit. That's all I care about.
Right.
So this is a steerage cabin. Low-ranking officers live in here. In these bunks, 2 men per bunk. 1 man sleeps, 1 man works. They switch every 4 hours. And there's always 1 man at this lever steering the ship. There's no steering wheel because they haven't been invented in the world yet. Except for Hollywood, real ships don't have steering wheels till the 18th century. About 100 years after Mayflower, just for the invention. Not common.
So what would they do? Yell down through here and
the conning hatch is where the orders come down.
wow.
Every half hour a new order comes down. Might be stay the course, but it's a new order.
Right. And then when the seas were rough, would it take 2 people to push on that to get that?
Yeah, 1 man.
Really?
It gets harder in heavy weather, but it's still 1 man's job. Can't afford 2 men to be in here doing that.
Right.
Pretty hard to tell. We've never used it in very heavy weather.
Right.
Mayflower II came here. They were in 70-knot winds for 2 days, but they had a steering wheel. But I look at the films of that. This is much more controllable than the steering wheel.
How did they like rig it with the steering wheel, then take it back off when they got it here?
Yep. The English Coast Guard wouldn't let it leave England without a steering wheel. Our Coast Guard allows us to sail with the whipstaff. There are rules for that, but that's what we do. So it was removed. Soon it was turned over to Plymouth Plantation or Plymouth Patuxet Museum. The steering wheel was removed because it's historically inaccurate. And this is not only a real sailing ship, but it's a museum also.
And when they sailed over, did they use any propulsion or did they just use sails?
Just wind power.
Wow.
No electronic instruments for sailing because they didn't have any. They had a sextant and their watches. That was it.
Wow.
In 57, there weren't any electronic. Their best electronic instrument was a 2-way radio. That's their only contact for the journey of 52 days for connection with the outside world.
Right.
And they didn't get that work until halfway across.
Sure. And how many sailed over originally with it to bring it back from England to here? How many came?
When this ship sailed, 33 men, no passengers. 1620, probably 25 or so. It's hard for us to tell. But Pilgrims only tell us, they do all the writing. They only tell us, there's never been a logbook found. They only tell us that when the ship returns to England, it does so with half its crew. The rest are dead from the winter. Know that half the crew would need to be at least 11 men.
Wow.
You say a crew of about 25. Our crew today is 26, including the captain.
Wow. Crazy.
That's a Coast Guard.
Sure. Well, thank you. Very informative.
Thank you. This hatchway is the only ventilation to below. Once the ship is under sail, even today, that's the only exit and the only ventilation. There is an exit into the sailor's cabin, but in 1620, the passengers would never have been allowed there.
So this is how they would have
Here, out on the main deck, back down.
This is how they came and went.
They got permission. We don't believe they ever came above this. 9 weeks down below in darkness, except for candle.
Wow.
Not a very happy trip.
Did they sign up for this, or did they were elected and say, you're coming with us?
No, signed up.
Okay.
Volunteered.
So they knew what they were getting into.
They're all hired workers. You signed a contract with the investors to be a joint stock owner in the company. You're given a certain amount of stock for each person over the age of 15 and a little less for every person under 15. So if you're a family of 4 with 2 children over 15, you're going to owe 40 pounds sterling of debt. And in the 17th century, that's a lot.
Sure.
If you have that of your own, you wouldn't come here. You need to. The problem with it is it's 40 pounds sterling of debt, and the payback is at, get ready for this, 70%. 70% interest on their loan.
Wow.
Supposed to be paid off in 7 years. The investors washed their hands of the colony in 1647. And Bradford, the governor, believes they paid their debt off at least twice. The investors say, we give up on you, you haven't paid your debt, we quit. So they would never have quit if they could prove that.
Wow. So the goal was to basically keep you indebted forever.
Everything comes from England. You need a new pair of shoes, you tell the ship, when you go back, I need shoes. Need a bureau? Tell the ship, goes back. It's all charged to you or to the group, and the debt gets bigger and bigger instead of smaller and smaller. So they start sending back goods like fur and lumber. They're supposed to send back dried and salted fish and lumber, and the furs are a bonus.
Wow.
Good thing, because the fishing fails on them.
Yeah.
No, you can't go in there. Pictures. Yeah, hammock. The hammock is on. So, guns, cannons, whatever, defensive equipment, tools to build out the new world they're going to bring with them, their food supplies for the journey as well as some furniture, gear, hard biscuits,
So there would have been a lot of people crammed down here with livestock.
Well, it looks basically what this looks like here. It's just below the water line, so it's a little deafening in that, it's not breathing down here.
This is how close we are to the water line.
It's very quiet. So there are two.
Mikä on täynnä paikalla, en tyhjä yö. Semmoinen kuuma. Mikä on täynnä paikalla, tyhjä yö.
This is where we were standing, where he said this was the only place that the people that were on the ship could actually come and go. And they could only go up with permission.
You didn't solve the problem yet.
Riddles. So the answer, think of it as full and empty. That's the riddle part. The answer is shoes. The shoes are full during the day and empty at night. We just don't talk about our shoes as being full and empty.
Jaa. Tiedättekö te mikä se vastaus on? No kengät. Jalat on, ne on täynnä jalkoja päivällä, mutta ne otetaan yöksi pois ja ne on tyhjiä. Kysykääpä Suomessa joltakin, että mikä on täynnä päivällä.
Was this storage area? Just all storage.
This deck is cheap. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We call this tween, in between the main deck and the cargo hold. So the sailors are working the ship, and that's you saw the sleeping quarters. So they're up here.
Okay.
Cargo packed. I believe it's packed down there because Jamestown had been built out. I think they're reacting in a positive way to that, and that they're going to bring enough food supplies for the journey as well as into the future.
Sure.
Defensive equipment, guns, cannons, things like that for defense. Tools to build out in the new world, and then there's stuff like pots, pans, forks, knives, bedding, clothing. So we believe it's pretty packed down there with cars.
Okay. So the people and animals lived on this level. And how many people, not counting like the staff, like the sailmen?
So we know the passenger list is at 102. William Bradford, who's a passenger, something governor of Plymouth, writes a book about 10 years later of Plymouth Plantation, and he writes out the passenger list. So we know 102.
Okay.
We suspect that 20 to 25 sailors would be working the ship because he doesn't write up. They're a different group and they go back. So we think 20 to 25 above us, 102 here. We also suspect that the farm animals were probably partitioned off at the front part of the ship.
And then these cogs, is that for like putting the sails up?
So this is a vertical winch system called the capstan. It runs above deck as well.
Okay.
The idea is we have to twirl that big tumbler around. So there are sticks. They were on the wall up.
I saw them up there, yeah.
Okay, they get put in the squares. They're sticking out. And so the sailors are going to walk around twirling that big tumbler. As that tumbler is twirling, above us would be rope wrapped around the bottom part. So we're wrapping the rope around that. The other half of the rope is going to run up through the pulley system and an arm.
Wow.
So cargo or sails pull up, and then they'll walk the other way and drop. So, I mean, quite a workhorse. We could have 16 men on it between above deck and below deck.
Wow.
That's as compared to the horizontal winch system up front, which is called the windlass. This one is used to pull up and drop the anchor.
Okay.
This one acts more like a ratchet. It's going to lock in place. So what the sailors would do is stand in one spot and bring it down. Right. So the idea is still twirling the tumbler and wrapping the rope. But it's of limited weight. We're only concerned really about pulling up. So they just stand there.
So this is the system that was used to bring the anchors up and down. And then there's the wooden post that you would use to put into these holes. Pretty fascinating. The Mayflower Compact, 1620. This was the first street, Leyden Street, I believe it's pronounced, here in Plymouth. This was the first street. So this is a little view walking up this first street. You might wonder what it looked like back then. It's kind of cool to go back in time to actually see what this would have looked like. This is the post office. It is huge. It also contains some other businesses here that I see. And you can lease a spot here if you so desire. So this is Coles Hill. It overlooks Plymouth here. Just a beautiful sight. So it says, of the 104 passengers, these died in Plymouth during the first year. The bones of the Pilgrims found at various times and near this enclosure and preserved for many years in the canopy over the rock were returned at the time of the celebration and are deposited within this monument, erected by the General Society of Mayflower Descendants, 1920. About 100 souls came over in this first ship and began this work, which God of his goodness hath hitherto blessed. His holy name have you praise. 1650. So it's Massasoit, the great scheme of the Wampanoags, protector and preserver of the Pilgrims, 1621. It was erected in 1921. So the story goes that you rub his toe for good luck. You can kind of see a lot of people have been rubbing that toe because you can see how much it's worn down compared to that one. Very cool. I'd say that the actual rock, obviously a third the size it originally was, is extremely cool. It creates an emotion in you when you actually see it, that was a rock that our settlers first stepped foot on. They struggled to come here, lost 50% of the original people that came, And this is really monumental time in history. So it's very inspiring that we as people decided that we wanted something different, and we left what we didn't like, and we went, pursued, and made things better. And I think that, it stands a message for today. Instead of us trying to conform the people around us, if we're unhappy with where we're at, whether it's in life, location, job, whatever the case may be, go pursue what makes you happy. Go do, if you can make it better, go do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what these people did. And look where we are here, what, 400 or 500 years later. All right, off to our next location. Gratitude today.
There's approximately a minute and a half left on the film, and then it will start back up, so feel free to go in anytime.
So this would have been a 1621 meal for Thanksgiving. And this would have been from 1788 to 1894. And then this would have been from 1917 through 1944. This is more of a traditional Thanksgiving dinner that we kind of know today. So here's a time period outfit for Sarah Hale. This was the first Thanksgiving, the Harvest Festival of New England. On this occasion, they no doubt feasted on the wild turkey as well as venison. So, who were the first people of the Thanksgiving dinner? They're saying about 37 were English, and then 63 were Poconet. I'm sure I butchered that. So this stop is the historic site for the areas that they live, both the Native Americans and then later where the Pilgrims went. It's a beautiful little walk through. So these are the Patuxet home sites.
probably like dying here. So you could go outside, get fresh air. That's why there are the shade areas outside as to like an outdoor house that people live in all year though. The only time you'd be in here all day is during a hurricane or blizzard. And even then, like I said, no problem because it's able to withstand that Category 5 hurricane. And that's possible because...
So that answers that question. Christy and I were actually just having a conversation last week talking about like how did people know what foods were poisonous, which berries were, which ones weren't. Well, they watched nature. They watched other animals, and that was my answer.
Every part of the animal is being used in some shape or way. Yeah. There was no waste. For our clams, their mussels, I mean, you could see sometimes, like, the big one is actually more the quahog clam. This quahog shell right here, you can make so many different tools out of it. You're going to be going out for collecting. These are branches, twigs, sometimes even whole trees would be dragged across the fire pit or multiple fire pits inside the house. But the important thing about this wood is that it's no longer holding any...
17th century English village. This way. So this is the Fort Meeting House.
Probably figured it's not worth it. You know, besides, we could trade with them.
Right.
Which eventually they did.
Thank you. It's like armor.
Can you get up a little? Hold on, right here. Hey, check out this little chainmail. You know where this is?
For your safety, you should not climb on these cannons. So beautiful just to overlook that. Really pretty. Okay, we're headed now to the 17th century English village. what's here? None other than the Mayflower. These little pilgrim shoes on. So they have a really cool gift shop there, and I picked up a few things. Just kind of want to share with you what I got. So I got the Mayflower Compact for my kids to read through. I also got some organic corn and muffin mix, and it's stone ground right here, and water, done by water. And then here is some of Christy's favorite New England grits. And then we got some organic yellow cornmeal. And then I got a magnet for the refrigerator. And then for my little reader, Mercy, since she likes to read so much, got her this really cool bookmark. Well guys, that will do it for this adventure from Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts. As always, subscribe, like this video, and leave us a comment. Today my question to you is would you have left England to come here? And then when you answer that question, knowing the facts that half of the people that came over passed away within the first year, would you still come over on the Mayflower? Leave your comments below. Another great way you can support our journeys is to support us on Patreon. Link in the description below. Also, any documents I write or anything of that nature, I'll put links down in the description for all that stuff as well. Signing off from here, Massachusetts. See you guys all in the next episode.